Good morning and good afternoon to everyone, and thank you very much for joining this virtual press conference, where an esteemed panel will provide perspective and will announce new initiatives to eliminate inequities and increase representation of people of color in the eye care industry. My name is Carlos Cerveiras, and I will be your moderator for this discussion. The panel for today is comprised of well-respected and leading experts such as Dr. Glover, Dr. Johnson, Dr. Purcell, Dr. Lee, and Mr. Thomas Swinton, President of JNJ Vision at North America. Here's an overview of the agenda and the presentations that each speaker will provide. We will conclude with a Q&A, for which you will be able to use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your right-hand screen. Just submit your question and they will be answered by the panel as in the order in which they are submitted. With that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Glover.
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, JNJ Vision. Thank you, New England College of Optometry. And thank you to everyone that is in attendance. My name is Dr. Daryl Glover, and I'm an optometrist based out of Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina with My Eye Doctor. And I'm also the co-founder of Black Eye Care Perspective, along with Dr. Adam Ramsey. Today, I want to begin by painting a picture for you. Imagine entering a profession where you do not see yourself, where you're the only person in your race or ethnicity in your program, where none of your professors look like you, where it's rare to see industry leaders that look like you or executives that look like you, where it's rare to see yourself at a conference or even an event of some sort. This is the reality for African Americans in eye care. As a result of this disparity, myself and Dr. Adam Ramsey created Black Eye Care Perspective. Black Eye Care Perspective was designed and created to cultivate and foster lifelong relationships between African Americans in the eye care industry. At the time we started this journey, there were only 1.8% practicing optometrists that were Black. As far as students go, only 3% each year that was entering into optometry school, and it was a flat line for 15 years. So Adam and I had to ask ourselves, why is this a problem? How are we going to solve this problem? And how are we going to hold the profession accountable? So we created what we call the 13% promise. Now, I know you may be asking, where does this 13% come from? Well, Adam and I looked around and we wanted to see if there was any targets for how organizations were looking at the diversity in their programs or their organizations. And after talking to a lot of folks, there wasn't. So we looked at the population of the United States, and we saw that in the United States, the census reflected 13% of African Americans represented the United States. So we felt like it was only right for us to take charge at the industry and ask for 13% representation, ranging from all positions, from executive positions to board seats, to academia, to optometrists, and most importantly, the students. Now, we realize that 13% is a high number and we're a long ways from that. So we understand that we have to build a pipeline. So Dr. Adam Ramsey and I partnered with Dr. Essence Johnson and Dr. Jacoby Cleaver to really create a strong pipeline. And we realized that we needed to create a plan. And we created a plan to really recruit, develop, and create opportunities for Black optometrists. Now, what I want to do next is really walk through what that pipeline looks like. And I also want to walk what it looks like to sign up for the 13% promise and to make that pledge. To begin with, for the pipeline, we have 4 segments that we're really tackling. We start with kindergarten to high school, then we go into undergraduate students, followed by optometry students, and then transitioning into the workplace with optometrists. Let me tell you what this looks like. For kindergarten to high school, we're really focusing on creating awareness, creating in-person events, going to schools, shaking hands, kissing babies, really getting out in the community and having screenings and educating the importance of eye care, because we're strong believers that Black students minorities, they need to see us in the environment and in the community. So that's what it looks like from the kindergarten to high school level. When it comes to optometry, or excuse me, the undergraduate level, we created the first pre-optometry club, virtual club, I should say, the first one recognized by ASCO. And within this club, we really work with the students one-on-one. We help them with, financially, we help train them to be mentally prepared. We have psychologists that come in and help them for that mental preparedness, because optometry is very tough. We meet every 13th of every month, and we have schools come in and educate about their programs. And we just work on ways to really create the best candidate and prepare them for optometry school and the tests that come along with it. Once the optometry students are done with the pre-optometry club and get accepted to optometry school, we focus on the optometry students. And we actually just had our first cohort enter optometry school this past August or September, depending on the school. And I'm very excited about this because while these optometry students are in school, we have developed a leadership program, which we're going to launch January 22. And with this leadership program, we're really going to train the optometrists to be able to effectively speak, to brand themselves, to really position themselves in the eye care industry to be leaders. Very excited about that. And last but not least, the optometrists. We're going to facilitate programs for them to be able to find the right fit for them when they get out of school. We're going to help transition them into the workplace. We're going to work with private practices, corporate optometry, hospital settings, whatever you can think of to help transition these doctors into the right position for them. And then we're also going to help in regards to finding KOL opportunities for these optometrists as well, and experts and boards and things of that nature as well. So as you can see, we really have created a strong pipeline, or will create a strong pipeline for these optometrists to be able to get through, but most importantly, to have the awareness at an early age, have a strong background to get into optometry school, produce that inclusive environment while they're in optometry school, and help transition when they get out. Now, let's jump into what this pledge looks like. We have 4 C's that we're going to work with here. Number 1, we're going to make sure that with this promise that you make a commitment like we're doing today. Special shout out to JNJ Vision for making this happen, as well as New England College of Optometry for really jumping into this 13%. But we want to make sure you make a public pledge. Number 2, we're going to have check-ins throughout the year. There'll be one in the first part of the year, one in the second part of the year. And that's really used to, assess progress, see if there's anything that our team can do to help facilitate more diversity, inclusion, and equity within your organization if there are any problems that you may run into. And then also we're going to have courageous conversations. And this is going to take place towards the latter part of the year. And this conversation is bringing together all the individuals, all the organizations, everyone out there that signed up for the 13% promise, and have a real conversation. Talk about the best practices that they might have had in the organization, things that really help, create more awareness of the problem, and just to really take their organization to the next level when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And once that's done, we're going to have what we call cross collaboration, where we're going to take all the efforts and we're going to put it together in a document, and we're going to send it out to all the organizations that attended that courageous conversation. Friends, colleagues, I'm asking you to join the 13% promise. We have to do this together. This goes for academia, this goes for industry, this goes for any entity out there, optometrists, students, whatever it may be. We can do this together, but we can't do it alone. Next up is Dr. Essence Johnson, the Chief Visionary Officer for Black Eye Care Perspective. And she's really going to jump into the data and give you more insight in some of the things that we have done, but also what the future trends look like as well. Dr. Johnson.
Thank you, Dr. Glover. Before I begin, I do want to take a moment to remind everyone to submit their questions via the Q&A feature on the Zoom. It is down there. The icon has that double speech bubble. So I am Dr. Essence Johnson. I'm the Chief Visionary Officer at Black Eye Care Perspective, and I am going to share just the inequities and opportunity to improve representation by the numbers. So from 2010 to 2050, it is projected that there's going to be a shift in the distribution of the United States population, as depicted by these comparison pie charts. So these trends, they're going to include a decrease in the white population from 60% to 50%, and an increase in the Hispanic and Latinx population from 18% to nearly 30% by 2050. And that this shift, it's going to occur the fastest in the 18 and under population. So although this shift is occurring in the US population as a whole, we are not seeing the same in healthcare, and that includes optometry. So as we talk about optometry, we know that the current non-minority groups, they make up a majority of the optometry program applicants, the students that are graduating from optometry school, and the colleges of optometry and practicing optometrists. As you'll see on the following slide, this opposite is true for the minority groups, especially Black and African American and Hispanic and Latinx. So where we are now, it's 3.2% of students in optometry school identifying as Black or African American, 1.8% of practicing optometrists identifying as Black or African American, and 3.8% of our faculty in our schools and colleges of optometry, they identify as Black or African American. Over this last year or so, many of my colleagues, they've been appointed to advisory boards in the eye care industry. They're stepping into new leadership roles, and they're changing their modes of practice from one type to another. These are absolutely phenomenal achievements. But it's also apparent that we need more minority representation to enter earlier into this pipeline approach, equity, as Dr. Glover mentioned in regards to the 13% promise. So our OptumCast, which is what we use to apply to optometry school, and the Association of the Schools and Colleges of Optometry, provides student data reports, and they give a breakdown of future optometrists that are applying into optometry programs and the programs that they are enrolled in respectively. Again, we see here that the non-minority groups make up a smaller portion of the pie, and the students identifying as Black or African American comprise only 4.1%. signifying that we need more minority students to pursue the field of optometry. In 2020, the Black Eye Care Perspective Pre-Optometry Club, it was established to ensure not a single potential Black or African American student or optometrist is ignored, discouraged, or disadvantaged. The virtual club has been monumental in recruiting students and providing them with the resources that they need not only to survive, but thrive. But equally important, fostering that community between future optometrists, and the eye care industry and beyond. Last month, the club celebrated its 1-year anniversary and its 13th meeting. And we are celebrating that our membership has grown to over 85 members from 23 states, representing 54 institutions, 15 being historically Black colleges and universities, or HBCUs. This past spring, Black Eye Care Perspective hosted the industry's first ever signing day, where we celebrated the achievements of nearly 40 future optometrists. They included the inaugural cohort of our Black Eye Care Perspective Pre-Optometry Club members and other minority students, announcing where they will be attending school this fall and awarding $23,500 in matriculation grants. And this event can be streamed at blackeyecareperspective.com. On October 12th, Black Eye Care Perspective will host its second annual Impact HBCU event. This event was stemmed from the statistic that about 40% of the nation's doctors, including optometrists, they graduate from historically Black colleges or universities. Impact HBCU is a targeted recruitment event to get more students, especially those attending HBCUs, aware of optometry as a career choice, but it's really to get all students in all levels of the pipeline interested and aware about optometry. The event is free and open to all, as it serves as an awareness to the community to learn more about optometry and the optometrists, what they do, where they serve, and who they provide care to. Registration is now open at blackeyecareperspective.com, and I encourage everyone to attend and to invite a youth in their life to register and attend too. I'd like to take another moment to remind you, do not forget to submit your questions via the Q&A feature on the Zoom. We will answer them at the end of this conference. I now have the pleasure of introducing the President and CEO of the New England College of Optometry, Dr. Howard Purcell. Dr. Purcell.
Thank you very much, Dr. Johnson. I cannot help but just smile ear to ear listening to all the incredible accomplishments that Black Eye Care Perspective has made. It has made this industry better, and I know we all thank you very much for that. Good afternoon, everybody. I couldn't be any more honored to be part of this day. This is a really exciting day for everyone. Not only do you get to hear a little bit more about what's going on at Black Eye Care Perspective, but one of the largest, most influential companies in our industry is prepared to make a very significant commitment. And that's just incredible. I know that we are all super excited about this day, and I couldn't be any prouder to be part of this. I couldn't be any prouder to represent an incredible group of faculty who give absolutely everything they have every day to support the future of this profession. I could not be any prouder to represent the students who are our future. If you have any question whatsoever about the future of this industry, spend a little time at the schools and college and you will see the future of this industry is in great hands. If you'll allow me just a moment, I do want to just recognize the work of a couple groups. You've already heard a little bit about Black Eye Care Perspective and what they do, and I certainly tip my hat to Daryl and Essence and Adam and the whole team. They just have really done a wonderful job. But we also have to mention groups like the NOA, the National Optometric Association, who celebrated its 50th anniversary and continues to work really hard in this very area. And by combining our efforts, I know we'll continue to see those successes. And also ASCO, we're a proud member of the Association of Schools and Colleges of Optometry, and ASCO has really made this a key initiative for our organization. And it's critically important. I mean, if we're going to make a difference in this industry, it has to start at the schools and colleges. Before I get into a little of the data here, I want to say one other thing. I want to thank our media colleagues. Thank you for joining us today, but you are a critical part of the future success. When we put together our industry, our academic side, and our media, that's how we're going to succeed, with the power of those three groups. So we rely on you to really help us. And you've done that. You've done that to this point, and I know you're going to continue to do it. And the fact that you're here today demonstrates your commitment to that. I do have to say, though, two things. Johnson & Johnson Black Eye Care Perspective. This is about groups that are authentic. They're real. They're really about what's going on here. And to be able to partner with two groups like that and be part of this today is something very special for us. I know J&J inside and out. I happen to have been part of the inside of J&J during my career. So what they say publicly is really what they do. They walk the talk, and those are the kinds of organizations we need in this industry to continue to support what we do. I will tell you that one of the most important things that I think about on a regular basis is the persistence of racial inequities in healthcare. It exists, it's real. And one thing we know, we want to diversify the profession. We should diversify all medical professions. But one thing we know is it's more important than that. It's about outcomes. It's about trust. We know that when your doctor looks like you, there is greater trust. We have better outcomes. So for whatever reason you may support this, and there are many, this is critically important to the future of our profession. And it has to start. We have to diversify the student body. We cannot just create optometrists. They start in the schools and colleges. If we don't make a concerted effort at all the schools and colleges to make sure we are diversifying this profession, it will never happen. So we couldn't be any happier to make a commitment to the 13% promise, and we certainly look forward to our fellow colleagues at the other institutions to do the same. I've been given the opportunity to very briefly tell you about our year. It's been an incredible year for us. We work very closely with Black Eye Care Perspective, and as a result, also we're able to attain some scholarships for Black students and first-generation students. What you see in front of you is the result of our 10-point plan. We created a plan that would enable us to reach our goal, and that we'll come to in a minute, to really be able to change this industry and diversify this industry. But when it came to the goals themselves, we were really searching a bit. We weren't really sure, what is the goal? What should be the goal? And once we met our friends at Black Eye Care Perspective, it became pretty clear what that goal needs to be. Dr. Glover, Dr. Johnson did, I think, a wonderful job of explaining the heart and soul of this. But in the end, we have to work together to address this. We will not succeed without our media, without our industry, and without academia working together. So I'm incredibly proud to say we made that commitment to the 13% promise. And today I'm here to just brag a bit, if I can, about our first year results. We are truly, look, this is a journey, and I'm going to be honest about that right from the beginning. We're not where we need to be yet, but to see this kind of results after 1 year makes us really encouraged about the momentum we're building. So as you see, this past year in 2021, we increased the diversity of our applicants from prior year. If we look at our Black and African-American applicants, we were up 80%. And by the way, as we began to demonstrate this commitment, we actually saw a halo effect where we saw, as you see here, almost a 40% increase in Hispanic and Latino applicants. These are the two areas primarily that we are underrepresented in optometry. And so we were really pleased to see, not only did we get the increase we had hoped to see in our Black and African-American applicants, but we also saw a lift in the Hispanic and Latinx applicants. That was really something unexpected, but something obviously that was made us very happy and showed us that when you make this effort and you demonstrate that these things are important to you, you're going to make mistakes. You're not going to be perfect. But when people see you making the effort, they want to be part of what's going on. And I believe that that's why you're seeing the numbers you are. If we look at our actually entering class, 150% increase in Black and African-American for us, and 200% increase in Hispanic and Latinx. Now, we weren't doing very well before, so I'm going to admit to you the numbers are small, but we're working in the right direction. We're committed to that 5 years of reaching 13%, and we absolutely believe that we will achieve that. I'm confident that we will. So our year one results are something we're extremely proud of and really sets the stage. One other thing I did want to mention, commensurate with this, we saw the highest grade point average that New England College of Optometry has had overall, probably in the past 10 to 15 years. So I know I hear occasionally comments about how this may impact our grade point average, et cetera. Let me just tell you, you see the results, and I can tell you the results of our GP are equally as impressive. So just want to make sure it's clear, these efforts work, they're important, and nobody expects it to change overnight, but if we can show those efforts gradually over time, I think that's what we're all looking to do. I wanted to try to bring it to life a little bit for you, if I can, and just introduce you to one of our students. I'd like to introduce you to Emily Menino Soto. Emily was born in the Dominican Republic and immigrated to the US at 9 years old, as you see. I'm not going to read all this detail, but I just want to give you a little flavor because I think Emily is so representative of these incredible students that are coming to optometry. As Dr. Glover mentioned, not always seeing people who look like them. And by the way, it's one thing to get students to come to your institution. It's another thing to make them feel like they're welcome and that they belong. And that to us is the biggest job we have now, is to make sure all those students believe they made an excellent choice. I just wanted to highlight a few comments that Emily made that I think are very relevant to our discussion today. Her commitment to, or the commitment to my community, my linguistic and cultural competence, and my authentic self will be reflected and respected. That's what people want. We all want that. You don't have to be Black or Latinx. We all want to be respected, and we all want to be able to reflect our authentic self. And I think that's a really strong message coming from a future colleague that we all need to listen to. I appreciate the huge initiative that NECO has taken to increase diversity in the optometry field by being the first to join the 13% promise through the Black Eyecare perspective. This is something that students notice. We heard this from a lot of students. The fact that you stepped up, the fact that you were willing to make that commitment what makes me want to be part of what's going on there. And we're just thrilled to see that. Being a part of all of this gives me so much hope. Hope is something we all want. And I know this industry can do even better than it's doing now at making commitments like this, setting targets, setting goals. We're never going to achieve it if we don't set goals. And yes, Dr. Glover said, it's a lofty goal, but set those high bars, set those high goals. You set them for yourself, let's set them for our industry, and let's set them for academia. A little more from Emily. As a first-generation student, I am passionate about inclusion, community care, and creating an example for future generations. Our constituency, our customer is a 21-year-old, a 22-year-old. We have to put ourselves in that mindset and truly understand where they're coming from. I want the same ability to improve people's lives on a broader spectrum for the color of the field of optometry. I know that my devotion and determination will make me a great optometrist one day. I hope those comments inspire you like they inspire all of us. And I promise you, this is not unique. I could have picked any of our students, but I think Emily really, to me, demonstrates what we're all about, what this initiative is all about, and someone who might not have otherwise thought that optometry was for them, but because of the efforts of Black Eye Care Perspective, the National Optometric Association, ASCO, and all the others who are working hard at this, Emily believed this was the place for her to be, and people like Emily, others like Emily, believe the same thing. So I couldn't be any more proud to be part of this today. I congratulate my colleagues at Johnson & Johnson and Black Eye Care Perspective, and you in the media. We thank you for your commitment to this as well. I hope you will consider as well signing up for the 13% promise. I think it's something that we all need to do as an industry, and optometry can really make a difference. So couldn't be any prouder to be part of this. Thank you so much. And it also gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce a friend, Mr. Thomas Swinnen, who is the president of Johnson & Johnson Vision North America. Thomas is such a forward-thinking guy. He's an insightful guy, and has been really 100% behind this from the very beginning. And joining him is our colleague, Dr. Carissa Lee, who's the head of professional affairs, and someone I am very proud to call a colleague. So Thomas, Carissa, it's all yours.
Thank you for the kind introduction, Howard. As always, your energy is addictive. Can't get enough of it. It's a privilege to be here, obviously. I also want to thank our Black Eye Care Perspective colleagues. Creating awareness and driving this critical dialogue is very important. And I think your passion and your energy is what truly motivates us at J&J. It motivates me to do better and to be better. I do want to spend some time about our credo in J&J. It exists for more than 80 years, almost 80 years, and it's been our guiding document, and it represents the values through which we at J&J stand for and which we build our business on. And I'll show you why that's so important. It talks about our responsibility to our doctors, to our nurses, to our patients, to the fathers and the mothers. It also talks about responsibility towards our colleagues, the fact that we need to create an inclusive work environment, that we need to respect everybody's diversity and everybody's dignity. But moreover, in that same credo, it also speaks about the duty that we have towards the communities in which we live and work. And a crucial way we need to do this and help people be healthier is by supporting better access and care. And I think throughout our 130 years history as a company, as a J&J, I think we demonstrated that numerous times. And most recently, with the launch of our Race to Health Equity platform, we did that by trying to address and aiming to address the root causes of healthcare inequity in the United States, or even at a global level, our commitment to change the trajectory of health for humanity. And this is such an important part of our credo, and this is such an important part of the values we stand for. And being true to our credo also means walking the talk, and exactly what Dr. Purcell was mentioning. And that's also why we are here today. We at JNJ Vision, we truly believe that to help people see better, connect better, and live better means addressing access to eye health care. And a key step to do that is to ensure equity and inclusion for all. And our commitment towards the 13% promise is a critical step towards that goal. Dr. Lee, can you talk a little bit about what that means for us?
Sure. Again, so proud to be here and proud to be part of this movement. And we can and we need to do more together. As Dr. Purcell was saying, we will be stronger together. We recognize here at J&J that we must keep our diverse community strong and address the current health disparities and inequities that exist. One of these disparities we want to attack is ensuring that healthcare providers reflect the types of communities and patients they serve. Dr. Purcell talked a little bit about this. And we can only do this if we stand together with unity, solidarity, and decisive action so that we can all change the trajectory of eye health together. For all these reasons, this is why we at Johnson & Johnson Vision are committed to doing these action items. We're committed to supporting sponsorships and new programs to improve the representation of people of color within optometry. We're also committed to bringing more diversity and equity into the eye care industry. And we are committed to creating more culturally relevant information in eye health education. Today, as we make this 13% promise, which calls for equity and accountability for Black representation in eye care, we are dedicated to this cause and will continue to have courageous conversations to ensure diversity across eye care. We strongly encourage that our other eye care leaders will join us in this pledge, because every one of us can make a difference, 1% at a time, but we can do more together. So we're not only doing this just because it's the right thing to do, but we're doing this, as Dr. Purcell has already demonstrated, it's going to make us a stronger eye care industry. You might hear my dog agreeing with me in background as we all change, and we're in a world of change right now, that she's voicing her strong opinion. Together we're stronger. So as leaders, I ask you to join us in this commitment that we are about to sign. Thomas, shall we sign? Okay.
Thank you very much. Please join us in a virtual round of applause in thanking all the panelists and congratulating Dr. Lee and Thomas for this commitment. We will proceed now with the Q&A session. A reminder to submit your questions through the Q&A button on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. We do have a couple of questions lined up, and we will all answer them in the order in which they were received. And the first question is maybe to you, Thomas and Carissa, and it is to the tune of why now? Why signing this commitment now?
Well, thank you for the question, Carlos. I think, first of all, this is, specifically for J&J, this is a step into a journey that we have been taking for a long time. In fact, it started for us in the 1900s even, where we clearly made inclusion and respect for diversity part of who we are. Nevertheless, I think recent events show, let's say the last 2 years, show that access to healthcare require much more action. You need to be really making commitments and really owning your commitment in a way we've never done before. And what the recent events show is that there's so many groups out there of people who do not have access to healthcare or even diagnosis, that us doubling down on this is important. This is also why I mentioned, for example, the race for health equity that we as total J&J are having, because it goes for all kind of healthcare challenges we have, but specifically for us, it's of course eye healthcare. So it's part of the path we're on, and it's part of the path we will continue to be on.
I'll underscore what Thomas said. As part of the culture, and even Dr. Purcell mentioned this, it's a culture, and it's really within our DNA at J&J internally. I think that a couple things. Black Eye Care Perspective has given us the ability to come together and a common platform. We all agree this is something that we need to focus on. And so we can all go in one direction, sign a commitment, work together, and be better together. I think, as Thomas also said, and Dr. Glover pointed out, this is over a decade of thinking about it, but there's not been the outcomes that we would have expected, even though people we know care about this. And so it's time to take action, and it's time to be very deliberate about what we do and how we come together. So yeah, I will thank Black Eye Care Perspective for giving us this opportunity to come together. And then also for Neko and Dr. Purcell for also leading the charge. We're excited to have more and more people and more leaders come aboard.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Swinning and Dr. Lee. We do have two other questions from Gretchen Bailey. We'll read the first question that says, are other schools and colleges of optometry planning to join the 13% promise? Maybe we'll start with you, Dr. Glover or Dr. Purcell.
Sure. Yeah, I've had conversation with my school, the Pennsylvania College of Optometry. at Silas University. And yes, they plan on joining. And of course, you know, the New England College of Optometry, I got to give my man, Dr. Howard Purcell, a little plug here. I visited his school, so 13%, they're a part of it. So go New England College of Optometry. But yes, we need more schools. Clearly, you can see that the work that Black Eye Care Perspective, the National Optometric Association, and ASCO have done, it works. The campaign that ASCO created a couple of years back and put a lot of money into it has really started to come to life. And when you have these three powerhouses coming together, it works, but we need you. We need you to put the buzz out there as far as media, industry, and other folks. But those are the two schools that I know as of now. Dr. Purcell, I know you have conversation with your colleagues. Maybe you may know more deans or presidents that may be wanting to join the promise as well.
Yeah, first of all, let me say this. It is really difficult to say no to Daryl and Essence and Adam and the team. I think eventually we're going to have all the schools on board. I'll just say that. However, that said, realistically, and Daryl, you've already mentioned it a couple of times, ASCO has done a lot. I don't want to suggest in my answer that the schools and colleges, because perhaps they haven't all yet signed on to the 13% promise, have been sitting around. This has been a key effort for all the schools and colleges. To defend a little bit, if I can, when you're a large university, and that's why I so appreciate what JNJ has been able to do. We're a private institution. The buck stops right here in this office. We make decisions about what happens at the college right here, as does Michael at PCO and some of the other situations. But some of our other colleagues are in different environments where it is a little bit more difficult because as an institution, as a university, usually it has to happen at the university level. So not trying to defend anyone, but it is for some a little bit more difficult. That doesn't mean they don't want to participate. That doesn't mean they've each set a goal for themselves to continue to grow. But if we can aggregate together around this, again, it's been said 10 times, I'll say it 11, together we can do so much more. There's no question about it. So I'm hearing a lot of discussion about it, people wanting to do it. I think part of it, to be completely honest, is it's a lofty goal. You know, let's face it, we're all at somewhere between 2 and 3%. Maybe some of the real high performers are at 4 and 5%. And you're asking for 13%. That's a big number. And I think sometimes it tends to scare people. Over 5 years, what I've told my team, and I hope my colleagues in academia would do the same, if we're at 10% in 5 years, we are going to celebrate. That's fantastic. And we'll continue to working to ultimately when we get to that. But I know all of you who are listening to this and will read this, you set high goals for yourself. It's the only way that you will ever get there. And that's how we ultimately rationalize it. We're not going to feel terrible if in 5 years we're at 10 or 11 or 12, and we're going to keep striving to do it. So direct answer, and Gretchen, thanks for the question. The idea is that everyone's thinking about it. Everyone's talking about it. They're all making their efforts. What we hope is that they will all make their efforts as an aggregate group around this initiative. And by J&J stepping out right now and doing it, I cannot imagine we're not going to see more groups jumping in. I really salute you guys. It's not an easy thing for a company of your size to do, but I think it demonstrates to the rest of us that we can all do this.
Thank you very much, Dr. Glover and Dr. Purcell. We have another question here from, I'm going to say Mr. or Mrs. Malope. Sorry, the scripture is not quite clear, but the question does say, what can optometrists who are not in leadership positions for big organizations like J&J do to foster change and fast track the 13% promise? Maybe we'll start with Dr. Essence. Let me read the question for the group. You know, again, what can optometrists who are not in leadership positions do to foster change and fast track the 13% promise?
And so I will say, even though we may be one individual can make a whole lot of change. Like we discussed with the Black Eye Care Perspective Pre-Optometry Club, we hear from students all the time how joining that club oftentimes was their first time meeting a Black doctor, meeting doctors of color in general. So that means I personally took that personally. That means I'm not doing my job as a Black female optometrist of putting myself out there and making myself available and accessible to our future. So I think even on the smallest scale, making yourself available to your communities, spreading awareness about our profession, all the time about increasing diversity, but the reality is optometry is a minority in and of itself here in healthcare, and we need to help increase the representation of optometry in the eye care industry in the world. I get very excited when I see more commercials on TV, when I see cartoons, going to the optometrist. We also need to be that change that we would like to see and play our role in promoting and branding the profession that has put in so much to us, putting it out there to the communities as well.
Carlos, can I add a simple answer to that for me? Number one, put pressure on your academic institution. You're an alum. We want you to donate to our institution. Tell your academic institution you want them to be part of this. And if they want you to support them, you want to be part of it. Tell another contact lens company out there, you're moving your business over to JNJ because they're stepping up. They're making the move. Put pressure on the industry, put pressure on the schools and colleges. You one person can do it. I promise you, Essence is absolutely right, because I've worked on that side and so few people take the time to share that information with the industry. If you step up and start to tell your industry partners, hey, I want you to be doing this. I'm a customer of yours and this is important to me. Believe me, do not underestimate the power and the value that that can bring.
That is true. I'll add one more thing, Carlos. I'll say sometimes it is, as Dr. Purcell mentioned, a lofty goal and it's tough to get started. But really it is just that 1% of the time, or the 1% that difference that you can make, and taking it 1% of the time, right? It's 1% each year, whatever those goals are that you need to put in place. And it is keeping it top of mind. So it's being, again, there's been great work done by other organizations, as Dr. Purcell mentioned. It's just, this is the opportunity to be super focused in what we want to do and accomplish, and have a big lofty goal. And then also, as Dr. Johnson mentioned, even if you are not part of industry, or if you are just, if you're part of the community, it's talking about it. It's making sure that those people of color understand the importance of eye health and eye care, and just driving the importance of comprehensive eye exams and the need to be represented in this profession and the industry.
Excellent. Thank you very much. The last comment that you mentioned, Dr. Lee, is a great segue into one of the next questions that came in from, it looks like Marge Axelrod. The question is, how might the dialogue for the 13% promise also involve the opportunity for communicating specific messages about the value of comprehensive eye care among Black patients and populations that might not have regular access to comprehensive eye care services? Perhaps we'll start in that question with you, Dr. Glover, and then Dr. Lee, if you want to add a little bit more, because this speaks to also one of the commitments that was made about more culturally relevant education information. Should I read the question aloud again?
Yeah, that was a long question.
How might the dialogue for the 30% promise essentially turn into specific messages that will speak to the value and importance of comprehensive eye care among the Black community and among other underserved communities? In other words, is there something that's going to come from partnering from this 13% promise that was translating to getting more people in underserved communities, more Black people, to understand the importance of comprehensive eye exam and of eye care, in general?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this goes back to what Dr. Howard Purcell mentioned earlier. If you see yourself as your provider or your physician, you're going to do better because there's more trust that's there. So if we can get more Black optometrists in the exam rooms, we're going to see more faces of color in the exam rooms, and we're going to be able to help create a healthier environment. I mean, what we have to look at is we are the gatekeepers to the healthcare system. We see so much by just looking at the eyes. So we're going to be able to get these patients that may need help with diabetes and unaware of it, or hypertension and unaware of it, autoimmune disorders that are unaware of it, or these different conditions that really plague the eye care, or excuse me, the Black population. We're going to be able to get them in the right place at the right time. So having the 13% promise will draw more Black optometrists and potentially draw more Black and brown faces into the exam lane as well, which can lead to a better healthcare system in general.
Carlos, can I add one quick thought? Because I just think of Dr. Glover as an example and how many young people he has inspired to come into this profession. And we can all do that, no matter what the color of your skin may be. You see a patient sitting in your chair and they're interested in some things. They're flipping the dials, they're messing with stuff. Talk to them about optometry. What an incredible profession it is. How you can get this great work-life balance, how you can change people's lives every single day. Talk to them about it. You are the best. I mean, almost every student that shows up at this institution had an optometrist who inspired them. So let's talk to our patients, particularly our patients of color, but let's talk to all of our patients about this profession and how wonderful it is. You are the ones who inspire them. So just to add to Dr. Glover's very astute comments, I would just say our colleagues are really the key. They're the ones, because every student who comes here has been inspired by one of you.
I can only echo that. I mean, also talking to many of your colleagues. I mean, being a frontline hero and serving patients in times of need is something to be very proud of, and it's something very energizing and exciting. It's cool to be an optometrist, and I think talking about that and spreading that news that you can have impact on patient lives is so rewarding, and that's the passion. It reminds me also about a discussion I had like 6 to 9 months ago with Emmanuel Echo. And he told us, it says, you have to see it in order to be it. And when he spoke about why he became an NFL player was because he had this poster of his hero on his wall, and it inspired him to go for that too. So maybe the question is, how do we get more posters of really cool ODs like yourself, Dr. Glover, Dr. Johnson, on kids' walls, right? Because that will inspire them to be a frontline hero like yourself. And I think that's really the way to make sure we can also serve all the other communities out there.
Well, Thomas, that sounds like a photo shoot that JNJ Vision is going to do. I will be there. Just let me know. I always look fly, and I don't mind being on a wall, my man.
If you play the hero, I'll make sure you get a poster.
I'll be there, and I'll bring my cape or my occluder.
Whatever works for you.
Fantastic. I think we're just at the cusp of time and got just one more question from the audience, and that is, how can industry media help this initiative?
I guess I'll throw out a thought quickly while others are thinking. Cover the stories, talk about the importance, highlight amazing people like Dr. Johnson and Dr. Glover, show people how diverse the profession is today, but the need that we continue to have, but put people front and center, people who have control over the major meetings out there, encourage them to, and some of this is going on through great efforts of Black Eye Care Perspective and others, to put more people of color on the podium, to engage more people in leadership positions, but we have to make it part of the discussion. It's a hard discussion, I'll tell you, and a year ago, we weren't as good at it, and we're getting better. They're hard discussions. You have to talk about things that maybe are uncomfortable at times, but you as media leaders, if you can drive some of those discussions, create opportunities for those discussions, and bring amazing people like Daryl and Essence and Carissa and all the people who are working so hard in this area, our NOA representatives, some people from ASCO working really hard. Bring those people to the front. They're working on the sidelines right now, but with our media's help, they could be front and center, and give them a podium, give them an opportunity to talk about the things we're talking about here. Not everybody appreciates why there is a need here. I mean, just being honest, not everybody gets that. And I think our media could really help us by bringing facts. There's data to support this. This isn't just our philosophies, our general thinking. There is data to support this. Let us help you bring some of that to the forefront. And it's just so important because people listen to you, our media. They want to hear from you. You're in a great position. And I appreciate that question very much because it is so critically important. I tried to mention that earlier. We have to combine those efforts, the industry, media, academia. We have to work together. We're willing to work with you in any way possible. We'll be front and center if you want us speaking about these things, but give us an opportunity and give people like Daryl and Adam and Essence and the others an opportunity to talk about what they're doing and to have the dialogue, even though it may be difficult dialogue to have.
And something else that I wanted to add to that. Sorry, Essence, go ahead. Ladies first, always.
I was just going to simply add, we can do more together. So when the media puts out those calls and those asks, I want all of my colleagues to know, and let this be that, you know, the door is open, the carpet is rolled out. So when you see those call to actions, those submit for the articles, you know, come and speak at the conferences, we got to put our name in the hat too as well. We got to raise our hands. We have to step up. You know, when you see a lot of familiar faces, some may ask, why not me? It can be you. Our industry is super friendly, welcoming. A lot of the connections and things may just happen by saying simply hello. And I think during this time where everything is Zoom, you are able to meet even more people than we would at a conference. And it has been a phenomenal opportunity to really get to know, as Dr. Glover would say, date our industry and get to know them on a very personal and intimate level. So I thank everyone in our industry, our media friends included, and I invite my colleagues, step up, speak out, raise your hand. We want to see more faces of everyone and learn about how diverse this profession is and all of the things that we are doing personally as well as professionally.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson, and thank you, Dr. Purcell. Great points, fantastic points. The thing that I would say, especially when it comes to the media, is that media, utilize your colleagues that's outside of this profession. Let everyone know that we need more Black and brown faces in eye care. Reach out to all these other outlets. It doesn't just have to be optometry. Reach out to news stations, newspapers, digital platforms. We need to spread the word that we need more Black doctors. We have to have a more robust pipeline. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is to be able to reach out to the masses and get the message out there. And we are here to help work with you, collaborate with you, partner with you to get that message outside of our industry, because we got to look beyond just optometry. We have to look at the entire world, entire United States to really get this message out there. So any connections that you have, reach out to them and let them know about this message.
Carlos, if I could add one last thought, and that is, I introduced you to Emily Menino Soto. Interview our young students, talk to them about what's driven them here. Let them tell their stories. I am inspired every single day, and I'm sure Dr. Glover and Dr. Johnson will kind of chuckle at that because they've been living it every day, but I continue to be inspired by these people. We were together, Dr. Glover and I, not too long ago, talking to some of these students. You know, we want people to see this energy and enthusiasm that people have. I mean, like I said earlier, if you ever get down on this profession, spend a day at a college of optometry and see, this is these people's dreams come true. They're so excited about what they're doing. If we can bring some of that forward, I think that is very contagious. We talked about the contagious nature of enthusiasm. I think this is another example of where we can capture that enthusiasm. I know they're not, you know, known names yet, but you can help them be known names. You can get their name out there. You have so much control over that. And these people have just wonderful stories to tell. They really do. So just wanted to add that piece.
Thank you very much once again to the panelists and to all attendees who have well exceeded the time and stayed with us given the degree of conversation and the engaging presenters here. We will follow up immediately after the press conference, and I echo all the comments here. Dr. Lee, Dr. Johnson, Dr. Glover, Dr. Purcell, as well as Mr. Swin are all going to be available for interview, and take Dr. Purcell up on his offer for the students because they have impressive stories to tell, you know, as well too, and we'll be happy to facilitate that. Thank you very much once again to everyone for joining. Have a good rest of your afternoon.
Thank you, JNJ.
Thank you. Well done. Thank you again.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a great afternoon.